Also, at the last town council meeting, there was another round of ARPA funds that was proposed, not voted on, so nothing to say really there. Several things, though, from previous meetings were passed on to last week's Board of Finance meeting that nobody watched because you guys were all watching the Board of Ed adoption, which I totally understand. We have to blow through this as quick as possible because we're running way over time. So during that meeting, when all of these things were proposed, when all of these funds were proposed to the Board of Finance for their approval, reminder, Board of Finance doesn't have to actually approve all of this, and they kind of have no purview somehow over all of this, which is really frustrating. And Amy Fotopoulos jumped in to ask the question. She's like 6 months behind. But in fairness, because this is a question that Joe and I have raised for months, in fairness, she does raise the right question. And it's the question Joe D and I have been asking about this whole process from a procedural standpoint for months. And here's Amy's question.
So are we voting or not voting? Because there has been discussion over us giving consensus statements, but not having any power to make decisions, which I looked in the town charter, and in section 806A seems different. So can we first just establish what the Board of Finance's role is? Because it seems to change from meeting to meeting.
What I first heard from Randy, and this is months ago, was that we just have the power of saying yay or nay. This is unbudgeted money, okay, which did not necessarily fall within the purview of the Board of Finance. It's really a legislative of action by the town council.
So that this is not a duplicative process. Is there a purpose for us providing a consensus?
Say that again?
Is there a purpose for us providing a consensus? What's the purpose
question,
for providing
Amy.
a consensus?
Just that we know about it, where the funds are going.
Damn good question, Amy. And I think we all know what's being implied here, right? Joe DiGregorio agrees. I agree. Diane Clafe agrees, and she intimated that later on in the meeting. Walter O'Connor seems to agree as well. I mean, you're like 6 months behind, Amy, but this isn't wrong at all. How on earth does the Board of Finance not have legal oversight on $7.9 million worth of your money? Again, which is being treated like a grab bag full of loot, right? And, you know, I'm the crazy libertarian here. I think it should be handed back to you in some way. I've told you guys how I think throughout all of this, the most appropriate thing to do would be to issue homeschool vouchers and to just dole out that money back into your pocket, because this is not an appropriate thing for government to do. They should never have taken it from your wallets to begin with. They should have never taken it out of what's going to be basically your investments and your children's future by money printer go burr monetary policy. And quite frankly, I've kind of been opposed to the entire way that this process has been viewed from the beginning. But Amy's not wrong in saying that why on earth does the Board of Finance not have a legal purview over this matter? Now, they don't. And it's a weird technicality in the charter. Joe D, I think, did the best job of explaining why that is.
So Joe and I sat on the Charter Commission. We do not have the purview to yay or nay this.
806A is to make appropriations supplemental to those provided in the annual budget, which would be like a right, which would be like if we were to send out a supplemental tax statement, right? I don't think that this falls under the purview of that.
So that's the explanation, which I totally get, but it's still dumb. It's still dumb that this is the case. I'm not saying this isn't the case. This is the case, but it's dumb. What is the Board of Finance there to do if not this? And this to me seems like a glaring issue with the charter. And okay, so the Charter Revision Commission missed it. Maybe you're going to say, well, I mean, how could they possibly have known? Maybe you're going to say, well, they should have known because they're the Charter Revision Commission and they're supposed to catch all things. Okay, fine. But this is a glaring issue with the charter, and everyone seems to be on board. If Amy Fotopoulos is on board, and Joe DiGregorio is on board, and Diane Clafe is on board, and I'm on board, you've got 4 people that if we all agree on something, then it's got to be something everybody agrees with. This is a glaring issue with the charter, and Joe makes the point that, well, quite frankly, Joe and I have been trying to make for a few months now.
I think the next time there's a charter revision, that should be addressed.
Who knew this was going to happen?
I know, but
Yeah.
you don't until you do, and then once you do, right?
That's the point.
Yeah, so let's get this figured out. right? We're not legally required to put together a charter revision commission more often than every 10 years, but I'm of the belief that it should be more often than that. And that's part of why I asked Pete that question in my interview with him. And this is from a few months ago now, but home run, Pete. He said he'd like to see a charter revision commission put together more often. And this is one of my favorite parts of the interview.
I do think that we should look at that I'm thinking every 4 to 5 years, look at it and see how we can update it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See how we can update it as times change, technology changes, how all that works. Maybe we don't change anything, or maybe we change a couple things, but I think we as the public should be looking at the charter within that type of time.
Hold on. Knock that out of the park. Dead on, Pete. Absolutely, perfectly agree. And he said this in the run-up to the election. And now that it's been, before I get to that, ostensibly, since this is in the run-up to the election, this is one of the things that he was elected on, because he was ostensibly elected on the whole of his body politic, the whole body of his politic. And this is part of his body politic. And again, he didn't just win. I got to keep pointing to that scoreboard. I might have to actually get a proper scoreboard and hang it here or something. 73-27. It's been 4 years. It's been those 4 years. Everyone seems to be on board, and this seems to be a glaring hole. So you have a mandate. Pete actually has a mandate, right? And you have earned your authority in that matter, Pete, to do just whatever you've already intimated ought to be done. Whatever you think you have an impetus to do, Pete, just do it. Don't wait to see if there's, never mind the potential pushback. You've earned the freedom to just say, this is the right and the thing that is right and good to do, so I'm just going to do it. Opposition be damned. 73-27. You've earned that position. You've earned that authority. You have a mandate from the voters to do the thing that you think is right and good. And there's going to be a referendum in May. So my take on all of this is, let's hurry up and put a charter revision commission together. Give them 30 days and tell them they have a mandate to report on this particular issue. We're not going to tell you how to report on it. We're not going to tell you the recommendation you need to make, but this is the thing you're to report back to us on. And if a change is recommended, then it goes on to the referendum in May. That way we're not waiting for another election year to put this thing out during the November election, or waiting until the 2023 referendum to get this all done. And again, I'm trying to get, this isn't something that has to do with the current expenditures from ARPA, because for all intents and purposes, we're whittling this thing down, and they'll probably be gone anyways by the time the referendum comes around. So this is not my way of stopping their ARPA funds from going through the way they've been going through. This is just plainly the moral thing to do. It's just the right and good thing to do. Pete has earned the freedom to do the things that might get him pushback, but which he thinks are the right and good things to do. He's earned that.